are watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman, exclusively on ABC Amber TV.
Mutumbu, mama yo, na ya boy go get her. Blue Jay Brothers. Mama you kind, mama you're beautiful, mama you good, mama you're wonderful. No woman like you, mama. No woman like you, mama. Thank God for you, mama. Thank God for you, mama. 'Cause you gave me life, oh mama. Queen of my life, oh mama. I go love you for life, oh mama. 'Cause you love me so, oh mama. From small begin, I never forget all the suffer when you suffer for me. Oh yeah, yeah. All the pain and the troubles where I pull you through. I remember when money no be there and chop no be there for her. You be the try your best. You go run around to find us something where we go chop. When I dey sick, you know the sleep. You go dey cry all night. You go hold me tight, start to pray, say God make you help my oh Lord. Ooh, I wo ye ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma. Ambama na bere ye ambama choma. Enga na chinu ye ga choma. Mama, I wo ye ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma. Ambama na bere ye ambama choma. Enga na chinu ye ga choma. Ye ga choma, mama. Enga na chinu ye ga choma. Chinu ye ga choma. Oh, you gave me life, oh mama. Queen of my life, oh mama. I will love you for life, oh mama. 'Cause you love me so, oh mama. You're my motivation. You gave me the best education, mama. The song where I sing, I'm for you. Now it's special dedication to you. Oh yeah. I know say every night and day you pray say make a mama. The God where you the pray I'm for heaven down. Give me this inspiration, mama. The song where I sing, I'm for you. Now to show my appreciation to you. Ubi ya wo ye ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma. Ambama na bere ye ambama choma. Enga na chinum ye ga choma. Mama wo ye ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma. Ambama na bere ye ambama choma. Enga na chinum ye ga choma.
Hello, fellow Ambazonians, fellow viewers of ABC Amber TV. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, depending on where you are watching us from. And special salutes to all Ambazonians at home front and ground one, and all the refugees across the world. Special salute to you all, and welcome to the Horizon, the voice of the Ambazonian women. And today we will be talking. I will be talking about, we'll continue the conversation we had on Wednesday, and that is the Women's Day, embracing equality and equity. And also, we'll talk about the Interim House of Representatives and Team Ambazonia, because today my special guest is the chair lady of the Interim House of Representatives. And we would also talk about the upcoming draft. So, welcome, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, Lady Casey. I appreciate being here and I'm honored. Fellow Ambazonians, fellow viewers, I'm honored to be here this day and to continue to talk about the International Women's Day or International Women's, or let me say, power, so that we can go ahead and we can build strong homes, strong families, because we have strong ladies, strong girls, strong women, and that will be a wonderful thing. So I'm looking forward to sharing some time with you, Lady Casey. Thanks and welcome, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Mawini. Thank you, Chair Lady, for creating this time for us to share and talk to Ambazonia women. And as an Ambazonia women, we need to be listening to this program, The Horizon, the voice of the Ambazonia women, and we'll be coming from different angles today with the consciousness of the fact that we just had the International Women's Day celebration with the theme STEM, Women in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. And we'll be taking it, further to our localities and, how women are be treated, the discrimination, and what is equality and equity for women, particularly within our society. So, but to kick off our conversation, Madam Chairlady, I will start with your office. You're the chair lady of the Interim House of Representatives, and this is the almost the end of the first quarter of the year. What's going on in there? What are they up to? And what stage are things that they are doing to contribute in furtherance of our liberation movement?
Oh, thank you again, Lady Casey. Let me make a correction. The leadership of the House is called Speaker of the Interim House
Speaker.
of Representatives. Yes, so just another side note, it makes a difference. Um, the Interim House of Representatives is where the voices of the people of Ambazonia is the place where their voice needs to be heard within the government circle, and they play a vital role in not just crafting, designing, and voting on the laws that govern the people, but also check and bring checks and balance to the executive branch for what they have promised us they are going to be doing or they will do, and let us see that they are following through. While we have a lot of things that, because we are a revolutionary government, in say we are not seated at Boya at this time, the challenges can be really many, but we have found ways to overcome those challenges. That's why we have a lot of virtual meetings. We have town halls where the government meets the people, but we also have meetings and we also have input and ask questions. Some things we call the government to order or ask them to really show to us that, hey, you said the government is doing this. We say we do this. We've had pitfalls in the past. What is the government doing so that we don't fall in the same pitfalls like we had in the past? I would leave some of those details out and not talk about it because I think there are some things that we're still working in the background with the executive branch to show the people that we are moving forward. But while we are also moving forward, we are mitigating, or let me use another simple term, we're trying to prevent some of the problems that we've experienced in the past that became stumbling block for us to go forward. So the house works on that quite a bit. And I'm glad today I'm here as a woman and as a speaker of the house as we celebrate women talking about equity. I would say Ambazonia is going to be one of those nations that we're starting on the right footing. We want to give women opportunity. And for those LGAs or counties that are not fully constituted yet and they are looking at sending representatives, I will welcome more women. Send more women representatives that will come in and they will impact the voice of our people and women and girls.
Wow, thank you very much for that great opening. And I mean, before you became the speaker of the house, you were part of Team Ambazonia. And we've seen a few communications from so-called Team Ambazonia. And what would you have to say about that?
Thank you. Let me use the acronym ACT, which is Ambazonia Coalition Team, that was put in place as a result of the Swiss-led process, where frontline leadership movements were invited by President Sarko to come along so that we could create this platform where we would use it, this coalition team, where we will be able to harness the best of everybody as we move forward into negotiation with La République through the Swiss-led process, which, as we know today, La République did pull off that. However, because La République did pull off, and because of some other glitches and things that were along the way, and most of you heard what Dr. Ellard said on Tuesday, there were some, I would say, within Team Ambazonia, there were some concerns because you could not call yourself a frontline movement when you are myself, me, and I group. How can you be myself, me, and I, and maybe with your dog, cat, or your wife, or your son, or your one body, and you call yourself a frontline movement? You were not. So some of those barriers and things were raised up, and because they were raised up, and some people, the IG at some point, the NCNC at some point decided they were going to um, take a break until they sorted out this. And for example, one group clearly walked out and said, until some of these things were really resolved, they were not going to be part of ACT. That was the Republic of Ambazonia, led by Chief Goji Dinka. Their group walked out in protest of some of these shenanigans that they saw that to them were not appropriate. Leaving that to go, the interim government now, which was the primary to be at the negotiation table, decided if these shenanigans are going, we are a government, we need to take lead. And so Team Ambazonia was under some restructuring and doing things to make sure that we kept our hands on the rein for the goal that was set before us so that we could get it really done. However, because you had some people that had already on the site went and registered Team Act. I can call it, anybody can go check it. It was registered in West Virginia, the state of West Virginia. You can go check. Ambazonia Coalition Team is registered there. Whoever are the people, whatever the bylaws, the articles of incorporation, Team Ambazonia never agreed and never voted on that. And because they never did that, these individuals who had registered that can run away with that name and that acronym and all whatnot. So of ACT. So Team Ambazonia is now, and we are, the president actually wants us to have a platform where we really do things and do it in a manner that would, even if other frontline movement, other Ambazonians join, they know this is the platform, this is what we are going, this is where we are going, and this is where it will be done. And we need the expertise of everybody, but we don't need a few. I don't want to insult. We don't want a few people who want to hijack things for their own personal interests. However, I'll go back to your question that we've seen some communiques out there. Those communiques are coming. Let me put it this way. There were like 4 signatures on there. You have Ebenezer Akwanga, whose organization is in ACT. Emmanuel Tello, who is the person who works with, I think he is either the military person of Ebenezer Akwanga's Sokadev, whatever. That is, so you have one organization there calling itself ACT and calling itself an individual. Then you go to Danmi Yerima, who is the call themselves the IGK, and then you went to Akwanga, not no Choayaba, who is ADF, whatever. Okay, I use their military terms. So basically, I haven't seen the other people like Morris that came. Granted, Scam left act, IG left act, NCNC left act, Scapo left act. So what is left of act now? A skeleton of a few people who want to use that name and who that was registered to keep running amok and giving the impression that this act is an umbrella of all Ambazonians coalition. It is not. We are restructuring, we are rebuilding, and we are taking things in a high way that is visible for Ambazonians to know who is leading, who is the principal, and who is going to continue to make sure that Ambazonians are confident and are sure that whenever and however, because even if we get recognition by any nation, there will be something called terms of separation that we know who has their hands on the rein or holding the steering so that we know where we are going, so that those negotiations are made for the interests of the people of Ambazonia and not the interests of individuals or petty groups.
Wow, that was well articulated, and I hope our viewers are learning and understanding the schemes and schisms of some individuals in Amazonia who are just consistently proving that their participation in this our freedom movement is for themselves and for their self-aggrandizement, and that they will use every opportunity to kind of humiliate Amazonia or claim the glory of our collective effort. Thank you very much, Mrs. Speaker, for that, detailed and, explanation of the current state of things within the act. Um, so we're moving on to our women and women issues. This week on Wednesday was the International Women's Day, and they had a theme, and it was women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Um, you know, you, but I want us to take it locally. I want us to discuss the issues. As much as we are talking about embracing equality and equity, and this is within women in society, women to be given equal opportunities, to be treated fairly as human beings, for women to be respected, and for their abilities, for them not to be relegated to the back because they are a woman, for them not to be marginalized, abused, so many different aspects in women issues. But I want us to start with some of the issues that affects women in our society. And when I mean our society in Ambazonia and Africa at large.
Lady Casey, I think the issue of women really fighting for equality, it's not only unique to Africa. You and I are in diaspora. Before we are walking in what we are walking today, some other women in the back had fought for us to be where we are today. Can you believe there was a time in America where women could not vote? Let alone if you were a black person, you couldn't even vote. And then if you were a woman, you couldn't vote. And then there was a time where women, of course, World War I made some changes. When the men went to war, then they needed the women in the industries. They brought the women in to help with working in the industry. But the pay was not one that was comparable. And even as we speak today, in America, the women are not paid equally like men are for the same job. There is that gender disparity in pay. But I would say we've made more advances over the last 100 years than in the diaspora Western world than we have made in Africa. Let me go now, zero in Africa. I think it starts, first of all, from our homes. It starts from our home from for this perspective. The culture is one where when a woman is married, majority of the man's family feels that this woman is their property. Women almost do not have a voice. You have children, you bear the brunt. If you have a good husband, husband will stand by you, support you, and if you don't have children, it even makes it worse because they look at it as you're just like a dry stick. You haven't produced any children for our brother or our uncle, or so you have no rights. That mentality needs to be changed. Every individual, be it boy or girl, it doesn't matter. You are an individual first, created in the image of God before you are male or you are female. And each one of us, we do have a destiny written in our DNA. And nobody is there or is allowed or permitted to destroy that. Unfortunately, with the way our African culture is one that, in general, I will put this all in general. I'm not saying in every home and every place is the same or in every family. Most because they look at women as a property of the family because, like in our culture, where they go pay dowry, it means like, okay, we pay dowry means we bought you. That is not it. It's just that dowry is something to show that we're coming into a covenant relationship, this family with this family agreeing that we have marriage, we're coming into the bond of marriage. Yes, and in the Western world, you find out that marriage on the other side, you find by the woman's family spending more of the money to finance a wedding. In our culture, it could be both sides of the family, but there are some things there which is almost like, um, granted, before there were even people went to customary courts or judiciary system to sign marriages. The seal of marriage was how the families came together, what they did, what my use pidgin word country fashion for marriage, how they go do bring this, bring that, so that everybody is agreeing that this person is betrothed and getting married to this person in this family. But here is the problem: marriage is not the problem. Marriage has never been the problem. It is the attitude of our people, how they treat women, that makes it difficult for women. Granted, we have polygamy, we have all kinds of things that are in there. But if the family feels like the woman is just there to produce children and not have a worth or a say to what is important in the family, then it makes it difficult for women to stand up for equality, even within the family circle. And then you inadvertently, you're teaching the boys that as a woman, your sisters don't matter. All that matter is that you are a boy. After all, you're the one that will carry the family name. Oh, the girls are going to go away. And so we have to start balancing and valuing our daughters. Let me tell you that. Make your daughter the princess of your home. Your daughters. If you make them the princess of their home, they carry a sense of who they are, their self-worth, is is really one that brings them to stand firm with their heads up, their shoulders straight, and they feel like they can conquer the world. And it gives them a boost of surviving, not just surviving, but thriving, but also excelling. So there's a lot that we need to do starting from the home. And then I will come to what we mothers too can do to help our daughters along the path.
Okay, thank
Lady
you so
Case.
much. Yeah, thank you very much. That for that, that great perspective. And I like the way you took it to our homes. Like they used to say, um, everything starts at home. the mindset that are being installed, that are being instilled in our girls. It's so important from the homes. And I just want you to give your perspective, as a, you have grown through some times where traditions have really treated women unfairly, especially as a widower, as a widow. And what, in your view, can the men in our homes do to mitigate this treatment, or how women are being perceived in families?
Lady Casey and fellow viewers, the truth is, if somebody doesn't know who they are as a person, one of their problems will be, if I don't feel good about myself, then I can blame it or project that lack of self worth on somebody else. And the best person to do that will be the lowest victim of society, will be the women or the girls. Sometimes the girls, in their innocence, they don't even realize what awaits them in the future. They go to school with their peers who are boys. I'm not here men or boys bashing. I'm just showing some cultural things that are so ingrained in our culture that if we do not work hard at eradicating those things that are not good, we will put our own daughters at a disadvantage, especially when it comes to them growing up as women. Then they will not be able to do the best that they can do to be able to raise their children. Remember, if you have a good, if if we equip our daughters with the tools, they grow into young ladies with confidence. They are able to compete equally, whether it's in science or technology, whether it's in the marketplace. Lady Casey, let me ask you this question. If you look at, go to our buy and sellers in the markets back at home, majority of our buy and sellers are women. I haven't done the statistic, but I will probably say that maybe 80% of the people, the petty traders, are women. But if you go look at those who sell in wholesale, you will find out that there are more men. So what happened that the men were able to get this and go this far and were able to secure the capital to be able to be wholesalers, and the women will only be the little buy and seller? Where is the equity? What happened? Is it that the family was willing to go sell some plot somewhere and give the man the money to start a business as a business capital, or he was able to stand at a bank or in Jangi or a credit union and get the loan, why it was not so for the woman? So there is not just the equity and equality that is lacking in self-worth, it's also in the economic arena, and then it will also translate into leadership. So we have to purposefully start training and changing our mindset to see the value in every individual and enhance and encourage the God given talents that each lady, each daughter has. So we promote them so that they can achieve the best and really excel in society.
Wow,
Remember,
thank you
it will
very
be
much.
mothers, we'll be mothers
Yes.
tomorrow, and we will be raising sons, and we'll be raising daughters. If you don't have confidence in yourself, you're not going to raise children too that are confident.
Hmm. Fantastic. Wow. I mean, you have really delved into that in such an educative manner. I am learning so much. And you mentioned women to be leaders, and women, you know, initially you open up with women when we educate women, when we give them opportunities, they will raise great families. And now you've added that women also need to be trained to educate them, to give them the confidence to also be leaders. Now I'll take um, the conversation into women and leadership. Um, Yourself, you have led a lot of, especially within the Ambazonia arena, we've seen some powerful women leading projects, leading different aspects. I don't know anybody followed the ASSC2. The women that participated, they were extraordinary women. They held it together in the questioning. The tough questioning and responding, did excellent presentation. These are amazing. Ambazonian have, brought forth some great and amazing women, and yourself included. And now you've mentioned educating women and into position of leadership. Now, how would the society, or do you think the society, and when society here, like we said, the women issues and the challenges women are facing are global, but it is kind of slightly different for every society and community. The ones they're facing in Europe and America or the West is slightly different from the challenges women or discrimination and inequality women are facing in African society and in Asian communities or societies. So these are really different. Because of our women, like we see our women in the refugee camps, we can see them on the screen, how they came together for the International Women's Day. And they were being educated and celebrating and make aware of the theme of this year's Women's Day celebration. So we see they did some activities and it, come together as women, empowering and strengthening each other. And thanks to the women department of the interim government, this was made possible. And so, Mahini, I'll come to you. How do you think women in leadership position? I mean, I have been so inspired by so many great women within the Ambazonian struggle who have held it together, who have fought tooth and nail both at home front and in the diaspora, who have been giving everything and anything to see that our liberation movement makes the necessary progress. So, how else do you think this will benefit or improve our society? If we have more women in leadership and more women have the confidence to take um, leadership positions.
Um, this is, I think, the one big key. Let me use the interim House of Representative. I am the speaker, not because I made myself the speaker, but because the House members voted me in as their speaker in leadership. But being a speaker does not absolve me from responsibilities because I'm a woman. There's still responsibilities that have to be handled. Does that also still mean that every male or every person would give me or accord me the same respect if I were a guy or a man? It's based on the individual. But what I think is, if we start in leadership and we have more women involved in leadership, where laws are made, and these laws are made to not disfavor our female ladies, and but make them inclusive, that would be a good starting point. Make equality. This, I believe, I would say something. My mom raised us in a way, I think maybe that's why I come out strong as a lady, more because of the way my mom raised us. When my mom raised us, there was no task in the home that was gender specific. Everybody and anybody in the house could do everything. You're a guy, you would cook. There was nothing that said only the girls could cook. If we were to, you know how we chapier the yard to keep it clean, it was not only given to only the guys to do or my other siblings. It was the job was to be done by everybody. Mopping the house, cleaning the house, dusting, it was equal. It was not done and said, because you're a girl, you do this, because you're a boy, you do this. My mom never let that. And maybe that is why I come out strong, because I can stand and not feel like, hey, because you're a guy, that is only supposed to be for a guy. But then, as we have more women in leadership, what we need to do is the women in leadership should become role model and become mentors to help other women and other girls to grow and stretch out their wings. We should become encouragers of our daughters, of our women. We talk about daughters, but we should also talk about our women, because we've I was looking at the statistics of rape. Do you know how much, just by having being raped, how that chips off confidence? The blame finger comes to you. Oh yeah, you were raped. It's your fault. That's why you were raped. No, no. If somebody is evil and rapes a woman, rapes a girl, rapes a child, it doesn't matter whether the child is a girl, a male, or female, or whatever. That rape is evil. And don't blame the girl. The person already has a baggage with that may need help in the future. So we need to start incorporating and move some of the blame of the around the shrouded things that we've had, that label women and label young girls and put them at a place where they find it difficult to be able to excel. Another example would be, granted, generally, we girls mature young, at a much younger age than their male counterparts, and with that we have the issues of menstruation and other things that some of the girls may not be able to handle, or they have limited resources to have sanitary um, pads or sanitary things that would help them navigate this. And so when this happens, some of them now shy away, and you may not find them at school. What are we doing as a society to ensure that we keep our daughters in school when they hit puberty? For the boys, it might be a little bit later for them to hit puberty. But there is not as much stigma to the puberty of our male sons as it is with our female daughters, when they have to deal with menstruation and also hygiene issues that come along with that. So there are some things that we, as a society, and as women, as men, as fathers, we have to start delving and helping our daughters to overcome some of the stigma. Especially, think if your daughter started menstruating at the age of 11, they may still be in elementary school, or they may be in secondary school, or how do they feel? How do they navigate this with other younger classmates of theirs who may be 10, 11, and they don't know? So there are some things we can do to help our daughters stay on course and let them know that it's normal. There is no stigma to this, and get them to move on and continue with their education. And then another one, a girl is raped, or maybe not raped, and she gets impregnated. She gets kicked out of school. What happens to the boy? He stays in school. Or if they were both in school, why don't we give our daughters the opportunity? Say, yes, you made this error, go have the baby, come back to school, rather than dismiss them. No girl drinks that. Only one woman had a baby that didn't have sex. That was Mary, who had Jesus. Outside of that, every other baby that comes is as a result of some intercourse that happened. So we have to start learning how to do this. There could be even us putting homes, schools where pregnant girls can go and continue their education while they await to have the babies, and so that they don't lose a year of education. 9 months of pregnancy is a whole academic year. So when they have that baby and that baby can stay home, they can go back to school and incorporate and pick up where they left. So there are things we can do to help our daughters.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I just want to expand a bit on this very touching topic, because this one you have just mentioned is really dear to me, because the African girl child, I have written a whole lot of things about the African girl child, kept them to myself. The struggles of the African girl child. And these are some of them you have just listed now in your comments. You know, this aspect of teenage girls giving birth and stopping school, and families, a lot of families would decide not to send them to school. Like you mentioned, the boy child would continue their school as if nothing happened, as if they haven't, and the girl would be the one to bear the brunt of taking care of this child and stopping their academic advancement as a result of, and probably was even as a result they were raped. And we know also within our society and community that most of these people who abuse, sexually abuse these young girls are always sometimes family members, and they would, create a society, a fear in this child not to come up and not to talk about such abuse, that it would tarnish the family name. How do you think, as a society, or let's do Ambazonia community, because I also have heard stories of refugees experiencing such abuse. How do we create a society or a community where, or a safe space where such young girls and women can be able to express or share these traumatic experiences? And going forward from that, you did mention that your mom um trained or brought all of you up with no gender roles. Do you believe that is, if more women are given that awareness not to separate how they treat their sons from their daughter in terms of the basic life skills, because what you mentioned were all basic life skills, do you think that that would improve the opportunities of the girl child?
Yes, I think to a certain extent, it would take away the stereotypes that that is created in society, our society, making people think that this type of a thing is only done by girls and women, and this can only be done by boys. Some of those stereotypes will be removed, and once those barriers of the stereotypes are removed, it will help. For example, let's take for example, if you go, I just want to use for example, if using sports back at home, we have a lot of sporting activities. Most of them are tailored towards the male child. Very few sporting activities are geared towards our daughters, where they can excel and get and go advance in, maybe if they want to become a career professional. We don't have those. You can see that that little segment of our culture and society and enhances, even though we've our boys or our sons have forged themselves to play. They don't have structured sporting events in terms of training like you will see in the Western world. You have soccer leagues, you have football leagues, cricket leagues, basketball, and all those. But then you find them play in their quartier or their um, in their little places in their neighborhoods, and they play until they get better and better and better. And of course, guess what? It's easier for the boys to do that. It is allowed. They can play. What about our daughters? We're leaving them behind. Where can they play? We go play jumping, tabala, and then after a certain age, we hit puberty. That's all gone. It's forgotten. We no longer play those games anymore. I'm just being the reality. That's where we grew up in, how we grew up, and then now you're directed back now to focus on, okay, their younger siblings. You take care of your younger sibling. You're carrying the baby. Your brother can go play, can go do whatever, but you, the daughter, you're actually pushed to do that. Is there anything wrong with that? No. But if you want to do hold your daughters to be that involved, hold your sons equally so that they respect their sisters. It's not because their role of being a natural, which most women just have that innate. It's in our nature and our DNA. We want to nature. We want to nurture and groom and get people to do better. However, give the boys equal opportunity to also learn to be compassionate. And to be compassionate means they will have to be involved in some things that you may consider they are gender role only. Nobody put that role except us and the culture. So we need to help in that regard. But you talked about this issue of raping that could incest that is happening within families and that may be covered up. I pray and hope that when we get back home, I will start with home front, we'll be able to put rules, not just laws, but put hotlines. Now that um, having phone is an easy thing, where and safe places where our daughters or our sons, it's not only daughters that are being raped, some of the sons too are. And it's not only men that rape. Some of the women also approach and rape young boys. So let's not um, exonerate the women and make them like they are the only they are the angels and they are always the victim. Some of our young sons too are victims. We should be able to have a hotline where information can be called and the child can tell. And we should have protocols where when rape does occur, a child can go into a healthcare facility, be examined and taken care of within a quick space of time, and we could have the healthcare or social worker that are put in place to help step into these things quickly and see what we can be that can be done so that criminals should be off the streets and not. I can guarantee you if somebody is raping in a, in a family, one person know that he's raping more than one. It's not going to be only one. That person is raping multiple people. It's just that they are good at manipulating, threatening, and keeping these children from talking. Sometimes the only time they'll be able to find out that this has happened is you find that the girl is pregnant and you begin to ask. Then the parents say, "Oh, who did this?" Then you begin to delve deeper and you find that happening. And when it comes to our refugee camps, that is a real challenge, but not an impossible thing that cannot be done. One, if the refugee camps are just open refugee camps, I encourage the women and the leadership to put in place some community where they can look into such situations and examine it. And once that a child reports that, the local police of where they are should be notified so criminals can be pulled out. The other thing, and of course, thank God we have DNA testing. I know it's not common back home where you could collect all the specimen and see if who raped this child is actually who said it is, or it's a gang rape because multiple people could rape the same person. But we should also deal with having some where safe place where our children can be safe, and it could involve the mothers having like a cooperative where you have, if these mothers are going to the farm today, they may have two ladies sitting around and create some safe place where their children can be all around, and these ladies are around to watch them. We don't, granted, we don't have daycares where they can go. And the next day they can do that and rotate to take care of all this. And then if it's those who are under the UNHCR care, they should be reporting that. They're under the protection of the United Nations. So they should be able to report that and that should be handled appropriately and law enforcement should be involved.
Wow, thank you so much. And there's so much awareness to be made, to be done on these various issues that we have discussed today, affecting women, particularly in our society. And I hope the women program have been doing so much work with, especially our women on ground one, which they have kind of access to. And I hope we will continue and implement some of the suggestions you have just made. Would as we prepare to round up this our brief discussion for today, I really appreciate all the points you have brought from great depth of awareness and creating this understanding that we all need to participate in ensuring that there's some degree of equality and equity in our society. And you mentioned the economics of everything as well, and that is also a very very huge and long topic that we can expatiate on that for a very long time. But we'll now move on to Ambazonia today. Ambazonia today, and this is what are we doing with the interim government today? What is happening? What is coming up? And we know the federal draft have started, and it's a regional draft. We saw the Savannah region. So now we have the Midland draft that is coming up. I would like before you get into this upcoming draft, and we are Ambazonians, we have seen what has happened within the past 6 years, how far we have come, how many people have shown themselves for who they are, the type of encounters and internal challenges and distraction we have experienced as liberator fighters in this era of Amazonian freedom. um you work in different capacity with different set of people. What would you say to a fervent Ambazonia today? What would you like to say to Ambazonia who is still active, who is still participating, or who is feeling a little bit tired at this point in time?
Lady Casey, thank you. I think I'm glad you said who feels a little bit tired. Tiredness is not a problem. It's I would say those that are on the fence, that used to be in and now are on the fence. I think those are the ones I really need to start encouraging them. Fatigue is not a problem, but it is how you handle your fatigue and how you get back plugged in to rejuvenate. But let's start. I thank you for mentioning the federal draft. The federal draft is a draft for every Amazonian citizen. Why we had the Savannah zone hosting the federal draft? It's to ease and help mobilization. The money that is going as we draft federally is not only going to be used in Savannah zone because they pledge 133,000 to Savannah zone, and what is coming to the Midland, the money is not going to only be used in the Midland and when it goes to Atlantic. No, this is money coming into the coffers of the federal government to help the federal government step into some areas. We've had some hot spots and we've had some spots go cold. We've had some spots with challenges and challenges to overcome. The federal government, when we had the county drafts and LGA drafts, the money literally, majority of it stayed within the coffers of those locales, whether it's the LGA or it is the county. The federal government haven't given grassroots government governance and involvement could not go back and start saying, hey, we need to snatch this money from you. Yes, they had some rules on how the money was going to be distributed, but the collection was taking too long. And so tracking and having money coming into the coffers of the federal government to be able to do what it needed to do as a government was slowing a lot of things. So, starting this time, drafting the federal government first, and then we go back to our LGAs and counties to draft there is good because we still have some money probably from 2022 draft that our LGAs and counties are probably still using and working on to do their logistics and take care of their business. While the federal government say, hey, I want to come alongside to help, but I cannot do that if I don't have the money because nothing came to me. So the goal is to draft the federal government, draft them quickly, pay it as soon as you can, and then we fall back to helping our LGAs and counties as we draft them. But the money is going to be used as the federal government see the need on the ground, and that is important for us to understand. Yes, Midland will be hosting the federal draft. After that, it will be Atlantic. Then we'll go back again to Savannah. All this is to help with mobilization of Amazonian citizens for the draft. I want to encourage those of us who are tired, those of us who were once in and we have jumped out, and those of us who are discouraged because we said, who plotting? I can't trust this, I can't trust that. There is one thing I can say. Start with the federal government, see what they will do. Then go next to your county and LGA and ask them at that grassroots, you can ask them question. Show us what you've been doing. And I think the federal government has a plan now that will help keep more areas hot on the ground and come alongside to help the coal areas and revitalize them, and those that have fallen back and those that never started, to build them up and give them the confidence so that they can go. They know more now about what is happening than we knew in 2017 or 2018 or 2019 or 2020. So they have a broader picture of seeing what has been happening, what works, what didn't work, and they can avoid some of the pitfalls that the LGAs or the counties may not be able to.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you. And we are just at the top of the hour, and we would round up um, for the show for today. And this, you have been watching The Horizon, the voice of the Ambazonia women. Um, Thank you so much, Wawini, for joining me today to talk about some of the issues sort of affecting women, give us some insights and the current state of things with the Ambazonia Coalition team, and also what the interim House of Representatives are doing, and give us all this wonderful awareness and education about some of the issues our women and girls face in a society, and taking it back to home, and where we can start to build the wonderful society and communities for great or goodness of all humanity. Thank you very much. I'll just ask you to give your final remarks as we round up for today.
Thank you, Lady Casey. Let me read something I wrote. I wrote this last night as I knew I would be on the program, and it's to encourage us women. You
Hello?
can take it personally. I will read this. Lady,
Mhm,
just remember you are a trailblazer woman for other Amazonian women and girls.
mhm.
We should not let stereotypes by other men or women keep us from motivating or encouraging other women and girls about equality and equity. If we cower today under the spirit of criticism to demoralize and belittle women, then we are teaching our daughters to do likewise, to become oppressors or victims. The self worth of a woman is not determined by others, it is God given. It is encoded in her DNA by our Creator. It is the destiny given by God. Other human beings or society can only affirm it, but not create it. Society can also tear it down, but cannot take it away from each girl or woman. As a woman, mother, girl, daughter, be the best of what God has created you to be. Model for others what you would have wanted others to model for you. Mentor other women and girls. This will allow them to maximize their potential. Every woman or girl should surround herself with other women or girls who will celebrate and cheer her to fulfill her God given destiny.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And before I round up the show, I just hope you've seen the videos and pictures from our women coming together and celebrating, like I mentioned earlier. And I want to take this opportunity to you see the videos of our women and pictures how they came together, they played some games, they celebrated and supported each other in ground one. And this was sponsored and organized by the women's services, the Department for Women's Services within the interim government. And they are so involved and so engaged and doing so many outreaches. And this is the voice of the Ambazonia woman, and the outreach that they are doing, and all the events and activities they are doing both at home front and in ground one. We want to thank all the participants, all those women who made this possible. I also want to thank the Sexual State for Women's Services, who is so involved in ensuring she's shown an exceptional leadership that women also can be excellent and great leaders, and they can care and mother everyone that comes their way. So I'll thank all of you for watching, and thank you all for joining our show today. And I'll also thank the House Speaker for joining me on the horizon today. Stay blessed and bye bye.
Mutumbu, mama yo, na ya boy go get her. Blue Jay promise. Mama yo kind, mama you're beautiful, mama you good, mama you're wonderful. No woman like you, mama. No woman like you, mama. Thank God for you, mama. Thank God for you, mama. 'Cause you gave me life, oh mama. Queen of my life, oh mama. I go love you for life, oh mama. 'Cause you love me so, oh mama. suffer will you suffer for me. Oh yeah, yeah. All the pain and the troubles where I put you through. I remember when money no be there and chop no be there for her. You be the try your best. You go run around to find us something where we go chop. When I dey sick, you know the sleep. You go dey cry all night. You go hold me tight, start to pray, say God make you help my baby. Oh Lord, ooh, I wo ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma. Ambama na bere ye ambama choma. Enga na chinu ye ga choma. Mama, I wo ye choma. Afunga na bere ye funga choma. Ambama na bere ye ambama choma. Enga na chinu ye ga choma. Ye ga choma, mama. Enga na chinu ye ga choma. Chinu ye ga choma. You gave me life, oh mama, queen of my life, oh mama, I will love you for life, oh mama, 'cause you love me so, oh mama. Ale mama, selelelele. Ale mama, shekelelelele. Ale mama, you're my motivation. You gave me the best education, mama. The song where I sing I'm for you, now it's special dedication to you. Oh yeah, I know say every night and day you pray say make a mama. The God where you the pray I'm for heaven, don't give me this inspiration, mama. The song where I sing I'm for you, now to show my appreciation to you. Be a warrior, choma. Afunga na bere ya funga choma. Ambama na bere ya ambama choma. Enga na chinum ya ga choma. Mama warrior, choma. Afunga na bere ya funga choma. Ambama na bere ya ambama choma. Enga na chinum ya ga choma. Chinum ya ga choma. Chinum ya ga choma. Ya ga choma. You gave me life. Mama, queen of my life, queen of my life. I will love you for life. I will love you for life, 'cause you love me so. Mama, you gave me life. Mama, queen of my life. Mama, I will love you for life. Mama, 'cause you love me so. Oh, mama, mama,
The evil specter of rape, it crawls in the dark, its victims by stealth, it hacks. We saw it, we watched it. 11th February 2023. That night, the killer without a face broke brutally into the Ambazonians' consciousness, evoking hate and distaste. Its form was crude and callous. We were enraged, dismayed. Genocide was the topic that night. Like the executed, gathering minute details of his own execution, we listened to the horrid story that makes up our history, which, like a heavy cross, we keep dragging behind us. Tears welled up in our eyes, glistering like fireflies in the dead of night. Then suddenly, shrieks and loud wailing pierced through the silence, arresting our attention. An impromptu group surged to investigate. There were sobs. There were cries that cut through the hearts. Then the young lady said, "I have been raped." A gasp went through the crowd and hung in the cloud. She stood in full view of all, a girl of 17, mother of a newborn child, still breastfeeding. She told of her fruitless efforts to bear the stakes officer, a man fully clad in La République's state uniform, out in the field to protect the state citizens, not to molest her, to listen to her concerns, and to respect her. But this state officer, a hyena in state uniform, an opportunist with no modicum of decency, grabbed and dragged his unwilling prey at gunpoint into an inner office where a state senior officer was waiting. He raped her with a gun pointed at her head. This daughter of Ambazonia, her world closed in upon her. It came crashing down at her feet, her tears coursing down like a stream. This was death. She was inconsolable. Friends and sympathizers talked of calm. To a desolate child, her heart torn in the frantic effort to articulate her predicament. This woman was alone in her loneliness, the embodiment of a multitude of women the world over, silent victims of the horror of rape. Can they eradicate their wounds engraved in their hearts? Those graphic memories that hurt like jagged swords and cling like the stench. She had been made into a shadow. In her, we have met them all, the traumatized, the degraded, the humiliated victims of rape. The girl felt dirty, like a handbag drawn out of a pit latrine. Words to articulate the unexplainable escaped her. Sympathizers, there were in plenty. Yet alone she stood, her memories racing like mice on a clean floor and pulling her mind apart. Her own body had of a sudden turned into an object of hate. Her concept of society, now a valueless construct. Her destruction was complete. Threatened with death, she now lives with death. Gladly would she eradicate every sense of that loathsome experience to live again. Don't cry, they said. Ah, yes, let her belt it out for women's freedom's sake. She, the embodiment of millions of degraded women. Rape is the encounter that despoils a woman of all that she is. But be of good courage, daughter. The end is not yet. Ambazonia will never forget. God, your creator, knows you and your worth. He will visit you with joy and many others with you. By Ma Eli Jambelele.